So you really want to crack the code of the market, right? Like really understand how it ticks.
Enthusiastic agreement.
Well, today we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the world of a trader known only as ICT, the inner circle trader.
Yeah, this guy.
He's everywhere right now with his, well, let's be honest, insanely accurate market predictions.
People are going nuts for this guy.
Exactly. So we thought, let's break down his methods, see what makes this guy tick.
Absolutely.
And luckily for us, he just did this whole YouTube mentorship session
Yeah, I saw that.
where he goes in-depth, analyzing the E-mini S&P and NASDAQ charts. It is fascinating.
Really interesting stuff.
So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
So from what I'm gathering, the core of ICT's approach seems to be this structured framework, right? He talks about market structure, order flow, and finding these predictive patterns.
Totally. And that's what's so refreshing, you know? It's not about gut feelings or just winging it. He's got this system.
Okay, but break that down for me a bit. What do those terms actually mean? Market structure, order flow, how do those fit together?
Okay, so picture this. Imagine the market isn't this chaotic mess everyone thinks it is, but instead there's this underlying structure. Like there's a method to the madness.
Okay, I like that.
That's market structure. It's like the foundation of a house.
Okay.
Then you have order flow, which is kind of like trying to figure out where the big players, the institutions, are putting their buy and sell orders. Because those big moves, they create these ripples that affect the entire market.
Right, so you're saying he's tracking the big fish.
Exactly. And ICT uses these big moves, along with this understanding of market structure, to spot repeating patterns, these signals that indicate potential trading opportunities.
So it's like he's looking for those telltale signs, those footprints that reveal where the market's heading next.
You got it.
So how does he actually apply this in a real trading scenario?
All right. So in this YouTube video, he's looking at the E-mini S&P and NASDAQ charts, right?
Right.
And it's cool because he doesn't just look at, like, the bare chart. He brings in all these other factors. Like, he'll be like, okay, June tends to be a bearish month historically, and he'll weave that seasonal knowledge into how he's reading the order blocks, which are basically these clusters of buy or sell orders at specific price levels.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a holistic view. He's not just looking at one indicator in isolation.
Exactly. It's all connected.
What I find super impressive is just how specific his predictions can be. I mean,
Yeah.
This is not some vague, oh, the market might go up or down.
Right. And that's what gets people hooked. He'll be like, okay, I'm looking at this relative equal low. That's where a low point in the current price lines up with the previous low on the chart. And I think the market's going to reverse right here. And bam, it happens like almost to the tick.
Wow.
It's wild. Like he's got a crystal ball or something.
Okay, so you're telling me he predicts a downward trend based on the seasonal tendencies, his read on the order blocks, and then boom, what happened next? Did the market actually do what he said it would? Tell me more.
Okay, so
Okay, so he called this move almost to the penny, but what I really want to get into is the how. How is he actually trading? Like, what's the step-by-step?
yeah. Right. So the good news is in this YouTube video, he actually walks his students through this NASDAQ trade. It's like we get a front row seat to his process.
Perfect. Let's get into it.
Okay, so he starts by, well, first, he has to identify what he calls a market shift.
A market shift. What's that?
It's subtle, this tiny little change in momentum that most people would totally miss.
Okay, so it's like what? He's got a sixth sense for these things? How does he even spot a market shift?
Right. So one of the big tools he uses is what he calls the fair value gap.
All right, break that one down for me.
Okay, picture a price chart, right? And you see this sudden jump or drop in price, almost like the market skipped a beat, leaving this gap on the chart.
Yeah, I've seen those.
That's your fair value gap. ICT's whole thing is he uses this gap to figure out where the market might naturally want to go to fill in that gap. It's like evening out the price action.
So he's saying the market kind of overextends itself and then has to correct.
You got it.
Interesting.
But get this, he doesn't just look at those gaps just by themselves. He actually looks for these repeating patterns, he calls them fractals, across different time frames. Like imagine he spots this fair value gap on a 15-minute chart, right? And then he sees a similar setup on the hourly chart. Boom, confirmation.
It's like those Russian nesting dolls, but for market patterns.
Exactly.
That's cool. Okay, so he's seeing these gaps, these fractals, but how does he know when to actually make a trade?
That's where his whole order flow and market structure knowledge comes in.
Right?
Remember those order blocks we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, the clusters of orders.
Right. He uses those to like pinpoint his entries and exits.
So it's almost like he has this mental map of where everyone's positioned in the market.
Exactly.
And then he uses that to navigate his trades.
And what really impressed me is his focus on risk management. He's not just like, yeah, just go all in. He actually scales into
All right,
positions.
he talks about that a lot, right? Like discipline over greed. It's about the long game.
Yeah, and it's not even just about winning every single trade, but more about managing your risk, thinking long term.
Totally.
And in the video, he's very clear. He's like, look, I don't enter a trade unless I see these specific confirmations. You know, whether it's a break above a resistance level or maybe it's a drop below support, it's calculated.
It's all starting to come together now. So we've got this system, reading market structure, using order flow, identifying these fair value gaps and fractals, and then managing risk carefully. But it makes you think, right, if it's so effective, why isn't everyone trading like this? You know, it's funny, we've been going deep on all these technicals, right? Like the charts, the patterns, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, watching this guy, there's something more to it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like there's this whole mindset thing with ICT.
It's the secret sauce, man.
Right. And you really see it in this video. Like,
Uh,
he's not afraid to call people out. You know, people who are just trying to, like, copy his every move without actually understanding why he does what he does.
yeah, he's not about that blind faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I respect that. It's like he's saying, look, this is a system. I've put in the work, but you got to understand it too.
It's like anything else. You got to do the work.
Right. And what I also thought was interesting, he even talks about, like, his family, his life outside of trading. He's not some, screen-obsessed, 24/7 trader.
Which I think is important for people to see.
Totally. Because it's like you can be successful and still have a life.
Right.
100%. And honestly, I think that says a lot about his discipline, his emotional control, which, let's be real, that's half the battle with trading.
The mental game, for sure.
Right. Remember how we were talking about not being greedy?
Yeah.
That's not just about individual trades. It's bigger than that.
It's a whole life thing. Right. It's about respecting the market, like understanding how it moves, having the discipline to stick to your plan, even when things get crazy.
Which, let's be real, it gets crazy a lot.
All the time.
So it all comes back to that million-dollar question. We've gone through his whole system.
Yeah.
Market structure, order flow, fair value gaps, fractals, risk management.
And impressive, right?
It is. So why isn't everyone trading like this?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
That's something to think about. And for everyone listening, if this got you interested in ICT and his approach, I mean, we just scratched the surface here. Do your own research, dive deeper, and remember, everyone, trading is a marathon, not a sprint. Find what works for you, manage your risk, be disciplined, and hey, maybe we'll see you on the charts. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.